Chosen one. Stop scrolling for a moment. Something sacred is happening right now. Heaven is leaning closer, not to judge you, but to witness the truth inside you. Because tonight, before the world wakes again, God wants you to know. He has seen your heart. He saw when you loved without being loved back. He saw when you gave when no one thanked you. He saw when you stayed kind in the face of cruelty, when you kept forgiving people who never apologized. And he saw when you smiled through storms no one else even knew you were walking through. You've wondered, does anyone notice? Does heaven even care? Yes, heaven has been watching, not your performance, but your posture. And because your heart stayed pure when the world tried to poison it, something powerful is about to shift. God doesn't reward perfection. He responds to authenticity. And your heart, as bruised and weary as it's been, still beats with compassion. That's what caught heaven's attention. That's why the spiritual atmosphere around you feels different tonight. It's because the divine has already moved on your behalf. Chosen one, you've passed tests that no one saw. You stayed faithful in moments that could have hardened you. And now the Creator is whispering, because of your heart, I'm about to do something no eye has seen. This is not just another night. It's a holy appointment, a divine checkpoint. Something will shift before morning, not because you forced it, but because your heart earned it. So take a breath, be still, and listen carefully. Because what you're about to hear isn't coincidence, it's confirmation. Chosen one, there are things no one knows about you. Moments you never spoke about, nights you cried so quietly the world thought you were sleeping. You carried storms inside your chests and smiled through them so others wouldn't worry. But heaven saw everything. God has always known your hidden pain, the kind that words can't capture and people can't understand. He saw when your prayers weren't poetic, just broken whispers between tears. He saw when your strength ran out, but you showed up anyway. He saw when you forgave people who didn't deserve it because your soul refused to become bitter. And he saw when you kept choosing light, even while walking through darkness. You've said, God, I'm trying so hard, but it still hurts. And heaven answered, not with thunder, not with lightning, but with quiet mercy that never left your side. Even when you felt ignored, you were being guarded. Even when you felt unseen, you were being watched over. Ask yourself, how many times did you think you were being punished, when in truth, you were being protected? How many times did you think God was silent when he was actually shielding you from things you couldn't see yet? That's why the pain felt personal, because it was purposeful. Your tears weren't wasted. They were sacred seeds. And tonight, heaven begins to water them. Pain has never been the sign that God left you. It's always been the sign that he's refining you. Gold only shines after the fire. And chosen ones don't rise from comfort. They rise from ashes. Every heartbreak became a doorway. Every loss became a lesson. Every lonely night became an altar where your faith was tested and your trust was trained. And through all of it, heaven was saying, I'm not breaking you down. I'm building you different. You see, God doesn't just look at what hurt you. He looks at how you responded, and your response revealed your true heart. You didn't let the pain make you cruel. You didn't let the betrayal make you cold. You didn't let the delay make you doubt. That's what separated you from the rest. Ask yourself, why does your heart still feel everything so deeply after all you've endured? Because it's still alive. Because the fire that tried to consume you only purified you, because instead of closing, your heart expanded. It learned to love wiser, not weaker, and that's what heaven honors. Not perfection, not performance, but purity, the kind that chooses goodness when evil would have been easier. Chosen one, your hidden pain has been the birthplace of your anointing. That's why your name is being whispered in divine realms right now. Heaven isn't just aware of what you went through, it's responding to it. Every unseen act of faith, every quiet yes when you could have said no, every tear that fell without witness, it all built a bridge between your heart and heaven's reward. So don't resent the pain. Reverence it, because what hurt you became the evidence of how real your faith is. And that kind of faith, silent, loyal, unshaken, moves heaven faster than any sermon, any title, any prayer spoken aloud. God knows your heart, chosen one. And that's why the blessings that are coming next are not a coincidence. They're compensation. You've paid for them in patience, in love, in faith. And tonight, heaven is cashing in your tears for miracles. Stay still. Stay expectant. The pain that tried to bury you has become the soil of your awakening. And before morning, you'll see the first bloom. Why silent faith is the loudest sound in heaven. Chosen one, heaven has a way of measuring faith differently than the world does. The world celebrates what's loud, the confident voices, the big moments, the visible victories. But heaven celebrates what's quiet, because it's in the silence where real faith speaks the loudest. Your silent faith, the prayers no one heard, the worship you whispered under your breath, the strength you found when you were breaking, that's what moves God the most. Because faith that doesn't need an audience is the kind that builds altars. And heaven has been watching those quiet moments, the ones you thought didn't matter. Every time you kept trusting, even when there was no sign to keep trusting, heaven took note. Ask yourself, how many times did you keep believing when everything told you to give up? How many times did you say, God, I still trust you, with tears running down your face? Those moments weren't small, they were seismic in the spirit. Heaven heard them as thunder. Because silent faith shakes realms louder than any shouted prayer. You see, loud faith impresses people, but silent faith moves mountains. It's easy to praise when the answer comes, but it's holy when you praise in the waiting. It's easy to shout when the door opens, but sacred when you keep knocking without bitterness. That's why your quiet endurance has echoed through eternity. God doesn't measure faith by volume. He measures it by consistency. When you didn't quit, even when you wanted to, that was your worship. When you kept showing up with a tired soul but an open heart, that was your offering. When you chose forgiveness over revenge, that was your declaration of trust. And the angels wrote it all down. Heaven has a record of every unseen yes that came from your soul instead of your lips. Ask yourself, how does heaven hear you when you have no words left? Through your persistence, through your posture, through the way you keep walking when you can't see where you're going. That's how God recognizes you, not by how loudly you speak, but by how deeply you believe. Chosen one, your quiet faith is not unnoticed. It's the frequency that keeps heaven tuned to your name. While others broadcast their belief, you live it. While others speak of miracles, you walk with them hidden in your heart. That's why heaven keeps trusting you with battles that require depth. Because silent faith is mature faith, the kind that doesn't need proof, only presence. Think about it. The seed doesn't make noise when it grows. The sunrise doesn't announce itself with words, and the ocean doesn't explain why it moves. It just does. That's you. You move with God in silence, and the world will soon see the results of what you believed for quietly. Every delay that didn't break you added weight to your anointing. Every test you passed in silence increased your authority in heaven. You've built a spiritual foundation no storm can shake, because it wasn't made of noise, it was made of trust. And now heaven is preparing to make public what you built in private. So don't despise the quiet seasons. They are sacred classrooms where God teaches his strongest lessons. Because when your faith grows in silence, your blessing can roar without resistance. Chosen one, heaven heard what you didn't say, and that's enough. Your tears, your sighs, your steady endurance have become the loudest worship in the spiritual realm. You've proven your loyalty without applause, your belief without confirmation, your love without recognition, and that's why the next move of God won't just be for you, it will be through you. Stay still, stay grounded, because when heaven decides to respond to silent faith, the sound of its answer shakes everything. Chosen one, obedience is the language heaven understands best. You might think God moves because of eloquent prayers or perfect behavior, but in truth, heaven moves when you obey. Not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the one who does. Your obedience, especially when it costs you comfort, becomes a signal that heaven cannot ignore. Every time you've obeyed without understanding, you've sent out a frequency, a divine code that reaches the throne. When you said yes and didn't see why, the spiritual world shifted. When you walked away from what you wanted because God said, "Not this," angels took position. When you stayed patient while others mocked your waiting, heaven recorded your endurance as worship. Ask yourself, how many times did obedience feel like loss, but later revealed itself as protection? How many times did the no you gave to the wrong thing make space for the yes that changed everything? Obedience always feels heavy before it feels holy. But what looks like sacrifice to man looks as like signal to heaven. Because obedience is not blind, it's prophetic. It tells God, "I trust you more than I trust my senses." It's your spirit saying, "Even if I don't understand now, I'll follow anyway." And that kind of trust doesn't go unrewarded. Every obedient choice you've made has been building a bridge to your breakthrough. Even the smallest steps, a conversation you avoided, a place you left, a habit you broke, they all mattered. Chosen one, obedience isn't about control, it's about alignment. When God directs, he doesn't do it to limit you. He does it to launch you. Every instruction is an invitation to elevation. Every divine redirection is heaven saying, "I'm steering you towards something greater." You've already seen it. The moments when you obeyed without understanding, later, they made perfect sense. The job that didn't work out, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away. At first, it looked like rejection. But looking back, don't you see how it all protected your purpose? Ask yourself, what if your greatest miracle is waiting behind your next act of obedience? What if heaven is holding the door open, but it only unlocks when you take that leap of trust? Because obedience doesn't just please God, it positions you. When you obey, you step into the exact coordinates of divine timing. Heaven doesn't have to look for you. it finds you. Think of Noah building the ark before a single drop of rain. The world called him foolish, but heaven called him faithful. Your obedience may not make sense to those around you, but it doesn't have to. It only needs to make sense to the one who gave the instruction. And when the flood of blessing comes, the same ones who doubted will see what your obedience prepared. Chosen one, obedience is heaven's proof that you're ready for more. It's the key that turns trials into triumphs, confusion into clarity. Because when God sees obedience, he sees a heart he can trust with power. And power without obedience is dangerous. That's why he refined you first. Your obedience has become your armor. Every yes built strength. Every surrender built peace. You might not realize it yet, but your obedience has already activated something in the spirit. The moment you stopped fighting God's direction, your delay began to dissolve. Doors are unlocking, not because you demanded them, but because your obedience aligned with heaven's timing. So keep obeying, even when it's quiet. Keep trusting, even when it's unclear. Because your obedience doesn't just honor God, it summons him. Every step of faith sends a signal that says, I'm ready for what you've promised. And heaven always answers that signal. Chosen one, there's something sacred about the tests you've endured. Not because of how hard they were, but because of what they revealed. Heaven never tests to destroy, it tests to disclose. And what was disclosed in you wasn't weakness, it was truth. You see, anyone can appear faithful when life feels easy. Anyone can speak words of belief when blessings flow. But God needed to know, what does your heart sound like in the silence? Who are you when the miracles seem delayed? When nothing makes sense, and yet you keep standing? That's when your heart speaks the loudest. Heaven already knew your potential, but the tests were meant to show you who you really are. You learned what your strength feels like, not in victory, but in vulnerability. You discovered that your faith isn't fragile, it's fireproof. That's why the storms didn't sink you. They shaped you. Ask yourself, what did the last storm reveal about your heart? Did you notice how, even in pain, you never lost compassion? How you still prayed for people who misunderstood you? How you still shared love even when you were running on empty? That's not just kindness. That's kingdom character. That's proof that your heart belongs to heaven. Every betrayal showed that you could forgive deeper than hate could wound you. Every delay proved that your faith could outlast time. Every loss revealed that your hope wasn't built on things. It was built on God. These weren't punishments. They were confirmations. Heaven already knew your name. It just needed the world to see who you are. Chosen one, you've been through tests designed to expose your motives, not your mistakes. Because God doesn't just bless ability, he blesses purity. And your tests revealed that your intentions remained pure even when life got complicated. You wanted peace, not revenge. You sought purpose, not validation. You chose truth, even when lies looked easier. Think about it. How many times did the enemy try to provoke you, but you stayed calm? How many times were you tempted to defend yourself, but the Spirit said, "Be still"? Those moments weren't weakness, they were wisdom. You passed because you refused to lose your light in someone else's darkness. The tests weren't there to see if you would fail. They were there to prove that failure could no longer touch you. You've grown beyond reaction. You've learned to respond from peace, not a pain. And that's when heaven knows it can trust you with more. Ask yourself, what if the thing that hurt you most was actually heaven's way of handing you your next level? Because the same test that broke others built you. The same season that silenced others taught you to listen. You've been through divine exams that were meant to prove your endurance, not your perfection. And you passed them all, not because you were flawless, but because you were faithful. Chosen one, your true heart has been revealed, and heaven has marked it. The tests were never random. They were prophetic. They separated you from distraction, purified your motives, and positioned you for destiny. God had to be sure, not of his love for you, but of your readiness for what's next. And now that proof has been shown in your spirit, the shift begins. So don't look back at the pain with regret. Look at it as your report card from heaven. You didn't fail. You graduated. Every tear was tuition. Every trial was training. And now you're equipped with empathy, discernment, and peace that can't be stolen. You've been tested and found true. And that's why the next blessing won't test you. It will trust you. Chosen one, heaven is proud of your heart. Because even when no one else believed in you, God saw you keep believing anyway. And that's what made the heavens say, now they're ready. How God uses compassion to protect the chosen. Chosen one, your compassion has always made you different. Even in a world that rewards hardness, you stayed soft. You felt deeply, loved sincerely, forgave quickly, and at times that made you feel foolish. People told you your heart was too open, that you cared too much. But what they didn't see is that your compassion was never weakness. It was weaponry, because love is heaven's strongest form of protection. God has always used your compassion as a shield, not to make you fragile, but to make you untouchable. When your heart stays pure, the enemy's darts can't penetrate it. When your motives are clean, attacks lose their aim. That's why people could misunderstand you, criticize you, even betray you, yet you still stand. Because compassion is heaven's code of immunity. Ask yourself, how many times did you forgive people who would never do the same for you? How many times did you choose peace instead of proving your point? Those weren't small moments. Every act of compassion built a wall of divine defense around your spirit. While others fought back with anger, you fought back with grace. And grace always wins. Not by force, but by frequency. The vibration of love is too high for darkness to survive in. You've wondered, why do I feel everything so strongly? Why does the pain of others affect me this deeply? Because you were never meant to live with a closed heart. You were meant to reflect God's heart. And the closer you've grown to Him, the more your empathy has expanded. That's not a curse, it's confirmation. Heaven gave you that sensitivity to sense danger before it comes, to recognize pain before it's spoken, to move in love before others even ask for it. It's not weakness, it's discernment, wrapped in compassion. Think about it. How many times have you felt led to walk away from something or someone before it fell apart? That wasn't coincidence. It was God speaking through your heart. Your compassion is connected to your intuition. The same love that makes you feel deeply also makes you see deeply, and that vision has saved you more times than you realize. Chosen one, compassion doesn't just heal others, it protects you. Because when your heart remains pure, it keeps the divine flow open. Anger blocks blessings. Bitterness shuts heaven's windows. But compassion keeps them wide open. Your willingness to forgive has kept your path clear. Your decision to love again after pain has kept your destiny protected. That's why you've recovered faster than people expected. They can't understand how you heal so quickly. But it's because love heals faster than hate ever could. Ask yourself, how many times did you survive something that should have broken you completely? And notice how every time your heart came back even stronger, even softer, even more radiant. That's the paradox of compassion. It refines what pain tries to ruin. The more you love, the less the enemy can harm you. Because compassion keeps your vibration aligned with heaven. And when you're in that frequency, you can't be reached by chaos. Your compassion has been your unseen armor. When people plotted against you, your kindness disarmed them. When energy tried to attach itself to you, your forgiveness dissolved it. That's why no matter what's been thrown your way, you're still glowing with peace. Heaven guards those who guard their hearts with love. Chosen one, never apologize for caring too much. The world needs hearts like yours to balance its noise. You were chosen to love loudly in a time where most hearts have grown cold. You were chosen to remain soft when the world demanded you be hard. Because through your compassion, people see a reflection of God. Through your empathy, they feel a glimpse of heaven. So don't tone it down. Don't build walls where God asked you to build bridges. Your love has been your lighthouse, and it's leading others home. And while you're helping them find light, heaven is ensuring you'll never lose yours. Your compassion is not your weakness, it's your covenant. It's the sign that you're protected, guided, and trusted with something sacred. Because only those with clean hearts can carry divine fire without burning themselves. Chosen one, the world may not understand it yet, but heaven does. And tonight, it wants you to know, the same compassion that made you cry is the same force that's about to make you shine. Chosen one, there is something sacred about this very hour. The world may see just another night, but in the spirit, the atmosphere is shifting. You can almost feel it in your bones, that quiet tension between what was and what's about to be. It's the kind of silence that isn't empty. It's pregnant with divine movement. Before the morning light, something always happens. Heaven moves its pieces. Angels take position, and God begins to write the next chapter of your story while the world sleeps. That's why your soul feels restless right now. It's not anxiety, it's activation. Ask yourself, why do the hours before dawn feel different lately? Why does your spirit wake up in the middle of the night for no reason? Because heaven is calling your name in the stillness. When the world is quiet, the veil between realms becomes thinner. That's when messages are delivered, breakthroughs are prepared, and your next season begins its descent. You may not see it yet, but the energy around you has already changed. Old cycles have completed. Old patterns are breaking. The waiting wasn't wasted. It was recalibration. You were being fine-tuned, like an instrument being adjusted before the symphony begins. And now, heaven is ready to play the melody your life was written for. Chosen one, this is the shift that happens in whispers, not explosions. You won't hear it. You'll feel it. In your peace, in your calm, in the way your fears suddenly seem smaller and your faith feels unshakable. That's how you know the Spirit is near. He's aligning everything that once felt out of sync. Think about it. Before every sunrise, the world goes through its darkest hour. That's the law of light. And right now, your life is standing on that edge, The final shadow before revelation. The heaviness you've been feeling isn't punishment, it's spiritual pressure before the release. The same way a seed must break before it grows, your soul had to stretch before it could shine. Ask yourself, how many times did you think you were stuck, when in truth you were still, because heaven was working beneath the surface? That stillness wasn't stagnation, it was gestation. Every delay was a preparation. Every silence was a download. And now, everything heaven has been building in secret is about to show itself in sight. The shift before morning light isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle, divine, and unstoppable. You'll notice small signs first. Clarity in your thoughts, peace in your heart, divine coincidences that feel too perfect to be random. Those are not accidents. Those are confirmations. Heaven always whispers before it thunders. Chosen one, you've entered the prophetic window of transformation. The version of you that began this night will not be the same one who greets the dawn. Something inside you is being recalibrated. Your energy, your discernment, your direction. God is removing the weight of what you've carried, replacing it with a quiet authority that will guide you through the days ahead. And though it feels subtle now, what's forming in you tonight will echo through your future. By the time the sun rises, your spirit will have shifted into divine alignment. Old fears will no longer fit. Old worries will no longer stick, because your frequency will match heaven's rhythm. Ask yourself, what if this night isn't about sleep, but awakening? What if the reason you're hearing this message now is because heaven needed your spirit awake for the transition? Don't resist it. Lean in. Let your soul adjust to the new light that's already approaching. The shift before the morning light is not the end. It's the quiet prelude before your next beginning. And when dawn comes, it won't just rise around you, it will rise through you. Chosen one, this is your confirmation. You are standing in the moment heaven prepared for years. You are aligned. You are ready. And before the morning breaks, the new chapter of your destiny will already have begun. Chosen one, when the sun rises tomorrow, it won't just be another morning. It will be evidence. Proof that everything you endured in silence was not in vain. Every tear you cried, every night you questioned, every time you stayed faithful without understanding. It all led to this moment. The morning will not only bring light to your world, it will bring clarity to your spirit. Because what God builds in darkness, He reveals in daylight. And what He whispered in private, He confirms in public. That's the divine rhythm. Revelation follows refinement. You've been refined through pressure, and now heaven is ready to prove why. Ask yourself, how many nights did you cry yourself to sleep, wondering if God still had a plan? How many mornings did you wake up feeling unchanged, even after praying with all your heart? Those weren't wasted moments. They were sacred rehearsals for this one. Because transformation doesn't always announce itself. It accumulates. And by the time the light touches your face tomorrow, something deep within you will have already shifted. Heaven has been working overnight, aligning, rearranging, healing, preparing, all in silence. And when you wake, you'll feel lighter, clearer, calmer. The confusion that once clouded your mind will feel distant, and the heaviness that once sat on your chest will have lifted. That's the sign. That's how you'll know heaven finished its work. Chosen one, the morning is God's way of showing you that endings are never endings. They're evolutions. The night wasn't punishment, it was process. The darkness wasn't delay, it was development. You've been growing roots while no one was watching. Now the light will make those roots visible in the form of results. Ask yourself, what if tomorrow's sunrise isn't about a new day, but a new you? Because what's awakening in you is not just hope, it's authority. The authority of someone who's been through the fire and didn't lose their flame. The strength of someone who's faced endings but kept believing in beginnings. The grace of someone who knows that God works best in unseen hours. The morning will prove it. The people who doubted you will see it. The obstacles that stood in your way will crumble. The promises that felt distant will begin to manifest one by one. Because what heaven starts in darkness, the light always completes. Chosen one, when dawn comes, don't rush into the day. Pause, feel the air shift. You'll notice a peace that feels almost supernatural, because it is. That peace is not random. It's the residue of angels who stood guard through the night. It's the afterglow of divine energy that moved in the unseen to reorder your life. The morning will prove that God was never silent. He was strategic. He didn't forget you. He was forming you. And now, the same world that watched you struggle will witness you rise. Not with noise, not with ego, but with the quiet glow of someone who's been touched by heaven. Ask yourself, how do you honor what the night prepared? By walking differently, by speaking with intention, by refusing to let old doubts drag you into a new dawn. Because this morning isn't just for waking up, it's for becoming. Chosen one, by the time the sun fully rises, you'll realize you didn't just survive the night, you shifted dimensions, you crossed from endurance to embodiment, from waiting to walking, from praying for change to being the change. Heaven's work is done. Now the evidence begins, and the light of morning will prove what faith and darkness has accomplished. So when you open your eyes, whisper this: I am not who I was last night. I am who God prepared me to be, because from this dawn forward, the world won't just see you. It will see the glow of heaven that rests upon you. What God saw in your heart and why He chose this moment to bless you. Chosen one, heaven does not move by chance. It moves by recognition. And tonight, God has recognized something within you that few carry. A heart that stayed true, even when broken. You didn't just believe in God's power, you believed in His timing. And that's why now, not yesterday, not someday, heaven has chosen to move. This isn't random. The moment you're standing in right now was scheduled in eternity. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment led you to this exact point. Because blessings don't arrive when you want them, they arrive when your heart is ready to receive them. And tonight, heaven looked at your heart and said, it's time. God saw something others didn't. He saw how you kept loving even after being hurt. He saw how you prayed for others when no one prayed for you. He saw how you surrendered the outcome, not because you lost hope, but because you finally trusted Him more than your plan. That's why this blessing will feel different. Because it's not coming to you, it's coming through you. Ask yourself, what if everything you lost was heaven's way of clearing space for this exact moment? What if all the times you felt unseen were simply God keeping you hidden until you were healed? He never denied your prayers. He delayed their delivery until your heart was whole enough to hold the weight of what's coming. Chosen one, the blessing that's about to unfold will not be small, because your heart has proven it can handle more. God doesn't give abundance to impress. He gives it to entrust. And you have proven that you can carry blessings without pride, influence without corruption, and favor without forgetting where it came from. That's why heaven waited. Heaven doesn't just choose the skilled, it chooses the sincere. The divine doesn't measure you by talent, but by temperament. And while others built platforms, you built character. While others chased applause, you chased alignment. That's why this blessing will not be like theirs. It will be tailored to your obedience, measured by your mercy, and wrapped in divine precision. Ask yourself, how many times did you think you were being left behind, when really you were being set apart? Because separation always comes before elevation. Heaven had to isolate you so it could reveal you without interference. You were never forgotten. You were forged. And what's emerging now is not just the reward, but the reason you endured everything you did. God saw your heart, chosen one. Not the polished version, but the honest one. The one that doubted, but kept praying anyway. The one that broke, but refused to turn bitter. The one that wanted to quit, but whispered, "One more day." That's the heart heaven blesses. Not perfect, but pure. Not flawless, but faithful. And now, heaven is releasing what was stored up all along. Blessings that were delayed are descending. Prayers that felt ignored are being answered. Doors that stayed closed are unlocking quietly, without effort. You won't have to chase what's yours anymore. It will recognize you by the frequency of your faith. This is the moment heaven has been preparing you for. The moment when pain turns into power, waiting turns into walking, and faith turns into fulfillment. It's happening now, not because of what you've done, but because of who you've become. Chosen one, your heart has proven it can hold heaven. And that's why God is trusting you with what comes next. The blessing is not just external, it's internal. Peace that doesn't shake, clarity that doesn't fade, favor that doesn't fracture. This is what it means to be chosen, to walk with scars but still shine, to face darkness and still glow, to have every reason to quit, but choose love instead. And now heaven's final word for you tonight. Because you stayed faithful when no one was watching, I will bless you in ways no one can deny. Rest now, chosen one. Your work is done for this season. The shift has already begun. When you wake, you will not just feel different, you will be different. Because the same God who saw your heart tonight has already written your victory into tomorrow's sunrise. You've passed the test. You've proven your heart. And heaven has declared it is time.